I can't believe I'm standing here again. It was only 4 months ago that I stood here before you, Your Honor, trying to tell you about the loss of my daughter, Tammy. It has affected my life and the lives of my family. Family after family stood here that day, telling you heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones, struggling to hold themselves together, at times sobbing openly. Some recall that terrible night and what they were doing when they heard of the fire, and how they found out about it, and what it was like to wait for 3, 4, or more days for confirmation that their son or daughter, mother, father, husband, wife, or friend was found in the ashes where the station used to be. Others told a story, a day, an hour, sometimes just a quick moment, sometimes just a quick goodbye, a story of what came to be the last interaction they would ever share with their loved ones. But one thing every story had in common: every person up here that day, Your Honor, spoke to you how their lives changed forever that day, nearly 4 years ago. We poured our hearts out to you. I did. I stood here 4 months ago and told you about my daughter Tammy. I told you about her life and her spirit, and about the 2 children she left behind. I told you about my family and all the hardships we endured since the fire. I spoke so much, Your Honor, that you cut me off and sent me back to my seat. I know you know all about my daughter, Judge Derderian. I know because I told you all about her. And I know that you know what a complete wreck our lives have been since the fire. I don't need to stand here again today and tell you that. I'm sure I also don't need to have to tell you how distraught and disappointed I was when you decided that the man who literally lit the fuse that night would serve no more than 4 years in the ACI. After I heard that, Your Honor, I was practically inconsolable. In fact, the only thought that kept me going was the promise that when September came, things would be different. When September came, there would be a trial, and there would be no way that the brothers would get away with their crimes. But it seems here we are again, us families up here begging you, pleading with you to impose a sentence befitting their magnitude of our loss. The defendant sitting there admittedly guilty of all they're being charged of, waiting for the slaps on their wrist. 500 hours of community service, that's actually insulting. It's insulting to our families, insulting to the memory of the loss of those 100 souls we lost. At the sentencing, you said that, Daniel, the greatest sentence that can be imposed on you has been imposed on you by yourself. What about the sentences they gave all of us? Where's our deal? Where's our plea bargain? Can I trade my sentence for community service? No, I can't. And neither can the other 99 families, or the burn victims, or the survivors. So think of that, Judge Derderian, when you hand down your sentence and show the rest of the nation that in Rhode Island you can be negligent and greedy and ignore the state building and fire codes and cause 100 deaths and still get off with a few years in a minimum security facility, or better yet, get off with nothing more than a few months worth of community service. Community service. I'll tell you how he could have served his community. He could have served his community by not packing more than 400 people into his...
Mrs. Mattera, please, I've given you wide latitude here. Please stick to your discussion of the issues here that you've brought here today.
You think of that, Your Honor, and you may also think of my family and the hell we've been through in the past 3.5 years. But mostly, you think of my daughter Tammy, a beautiful and vivacious 29-year-old mother of two who spent her last few moments on this earth terrified, struggling to breathe and remain conscious long enough to escape the death trap created by the two men sitting right over there, but ultimately failing to do so. And when you hand out those sentences later today, think of that. And when you think of her, because I do every single day.
Thank you, Mrs. Mattera. Mr. Mattera.